This is my bowl of hand-painted sentiments of loving kindness. I read one before every practice as a way of creating an intention for our practice. That one's awfully pretty, bright reds and cranberries and oranges. This one reads, whoops. This one reads, may I allow limiting stories and judgments to float away. May I allow limiting stories and judgments to poof, float away. I'm so happy to be here today. Friends, for the month of July in the Spokane Sangha, we are exploring the third of 8 folds in the Noble Eightfold Path. This is one of the fundamental, foundational principles in Buddhism. And we have been exploring this all year long. We began with the Four Noble Truths, and now we're in the Noble Eightfold Path. And this particular noble element is called wise action. And one of the things that I do in my practice is I look at these ideas, I look at these really ancient principles, and I contemplate them in sort of a questioning way, a challenging way. I do have a pretty strong antagonist, and I'm really trying not to approach anything that I question with antagonism. It does come up every once in a while. But in this particular practice, looking at the Four Noble Truths, looking at the Noble Eightfold Path, my motivation for questioning was how to make these ancient practices relevant to me as a contemporary Western white woman of privilege, no less. And so when I hear about wise action, when I hear that those 2 little words, wise action, for me, embedded in anything wise aren't just all the skillful things that I do, but also all the unskillful things that I do. Because from my unskillful actions, from my mistakes, that's actually where so much of my growth has come. And I sometimes really hate that, if I'm being really honest. I hate that my greatest growth comes from my pain and my suffering. And yet I know that to be a truth. And so for me, wise action has to include this concept of bothness, skillfulness and unskillfulness, positive and negative. And so I wanted to reimagine wise action. And what I came up with for me, and what I would encourage you to come up with for yourself, is when you think about wise action, and when you think about how can I bring the dualism of my life into fruition, what comes alive for me? For me, it's to be real. In what ways am I real? Authentic, true, honest, mature. And in what ways am I false, immature, self-protecting, unskillful, and so on? Because I have the capacity for both in a really big way. And yet, my awareness, my understanding of how that arises in my life, how that manifests in my life, actually brings me to the threshold of my own wisdom. And so I can't pretend it's not there. I can't pretend It'll go away. I can't ignore it. I can't run away from it. That's all unskillful behavior. I have to be with it if I really want my actions to be wise, whole, guided by maturity, kindness, peace. So today, as a focus of our practice, I'd like to bring forward two concepts. And the first is something everybody's aware of called the ego. And I'm only bringing this forward because I've been in so many spiritual circles where the interpretation of the ego, I think, is false, which is that we can somehow get rid of it. And I don't think that's true. I don't even think it's the truth. I think what we do with our ego is we mature it. So, ego for me, and I encourage you to investigate this on your own, is a compilation of so many aspects of me, of my personality. I have an ego that's about 2 years old, 3 maybe. And she is as cute as a button. And she is a brat to holy high heaven. And she wants what she wants when she wants it. And she usually wants it right now. She still is alive in me. So sometimes she slips into the driver's seat of my life. I'm like, yeah, what are you doing in here? You can't see over the steering wheel, darling. You belong in the car seat in back. So we're going to tuck you in because I don't want you driving because you cause damage. But you're cute. You're cute as can be, but get back there. I also have a part of my personality and a part of my ego that's an insufferable adolescent know it all. Oh, she's insufferable. And she's disarming and she's fantastic. I love her. She's full of badassery and the whole thing, but she's super annoying and bossy. And she also slips into the driver's seat because she knows how to drive. It's like you've never driven before. I don't care. I know how to do things. And then, of course, I've got this other part of my personality, another part of my ego, who has learned from these living beings still within me, this 3-year-old in me, this 13-year-old in me, this 20-year-old in me, this 30-year-old, 40, 50, now a 60-year-old. I've learned from all of these iterations of me. And she's a wise one. And she's very calm and clear and fun. And I can't get rid of any of these, but I can bring them into my awareness with equanimity and understand their presence and learn not to be driven by them. That's the practice. So that's for me how my ego works. There's an aspect of my ego that's highly immature. There's an aspect of me that has a maturing ego. And there's an aspect of me that is pretty mature, pretty wise. Now, I'd like to bring that concept into the second concept today. And that is something called the stages of change. And you can Google this. You can also read about it in the Sate Seva book. It's in the mindfulness chapter of encouragement, which I believe is chapter 11, but let me double check. Nope, chapter 13. The stages of change. And why I'm bringing this forward is because on the journey of recovery, change, shifting our relationship to negative habit energy takes time. And there's a propensity to treat time as if it's a thing to overcome, as if it's an obstacle getting in the way. And that is the energy of an immature ego wanting what it wants when it wants it, which is typically right now. We want to get this recovery thing figured out now. We feel like shit and we want to feel better now. Who can blame us? Our negative habit energy has caused rifts in relationships that we want to repair now. We have regret. We feel sorry. We're making amends. We just want to be forgiven and get on with it today. And time is saying, nope. And we're frustrated by that. And the reason is, it seems to me anyway, that many of us have a habit energy that I call microwave mentality. We want to plop in this healing, and 30 seconds, maybe a minute and a half later, it's fixed. We're good. Moving on. Perfect life, all figured out. Everything's good. Never going back to habit energy again. Got it. And that's that immature ego acting up again. And the mature ego says, time isn't an obstacle. It's not anything that you have to resist or fight with. Time is an ally that's asking to be prioritized and understood. Recovery requires time, not a day, not 30 days, not 90 days. A year, 3 years, 5 years, 7 years, the rest of your life. Pema Chodron, a very famous Mahayana Buddhist nun, American Buddhist nun, she just turned 90. She's so much fun. She jokes, but she's absolutely serious when she says, take these concepts for a spin, and in 10 years come back and tell me what you've learned. Because she recognizes that it takes time. And so when you find yourself railing against time, telling yourself a story that I should be farther along, I've been already doing this for 3 years. Why am I not fixed? Well, because for you and your life and your karma and your journey, it's going to take longer, and you have your own life. This is your path to carve, no one else. So to compare yourself to anyone else is an action of falsity. You have to be real about your journey, your immature ego and the way it rises up, your mature ego in the way it takes the steering wheel and says, I got you. I got you, adolescent one that was such a wonderful protector and guardian at one time. But I don't need that right now. I got us. So, with working with that ego, with working with the ally of time, we can begin to see the stages of change. And I'm simply going to mention them. The first is pre-contemplation. When you meet an individual or even yourself that's in the pre-contemplation stage of change, they're not even aware that there's an issue. Other people may be saying, dude, I think we got a problem here. Are you ready to talk about it? This individual is like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Nope. Change is nowhere on the table. The next stage of change is contemplation. And this is where reality starts knocking on the door a little bit louder of a person's awareness. And all kinds of things can happen, all kinds of consequences, errors, misjudgments, missteps. The body starts to react and feel bad, and so on. And this is where, in the back of the mind, there's a little kind of vibrational tap, tap, like, ooh, you mean, you remember that person who was saying that there was kind of a problem and might be coming forward a little bit, starting to think about it, starting to look around. And no effort to shift anything is happening yet. That starts to come in the third stage of change, which is something called readiness. This is where the cons begin to outweigh the pros. The misery is stronger than the joy and the relief. And this is where somebody is starting to reconcile what they know and what they feel, or just even an awareness of it. Like, oh man, I know I need help, but what I feel is I don't want it. I do, but I don't. I want to heal so long as I don't have to give up my habit. I want to get better so long as I don't really have to change anything, but I'll kind of think about it. But maybe it's a very conflicted mind. It's a very tender mind. It's a very wounded heart in the stage called readiness. When we encounter a person ready to shift their negative habit energy, voices of encouragement, compassion, hope, nurturance, kindness, honesty, these are essential because that's what's going to guide an individual to the fourth step, fourth shift, stage, which is action. This is where a plan is made. We're going to try this. We're going to do this. For some people, the action is quick, it's decisive, it's immediate, and the effect is the same. For other people, it's very, very different. For decades and decades in the communities of recovery around the world, we have praised and held as the gold star those who act, they decide to quit, they never look back, as the example, as the achievable goal, as that's the kind of person I need to be. And it is false. Because what we end up doing, if you're not that person, then your actions continue to be a setup for failure. The actions continue to be the result of the saboteur, that inner archetype, because we fail to see, who am I? I'm not that person. I have a different journey. I have a different path of recovery to create for myself, and it's personal and complex. And I get to do it my way. Cue inner adolescent. I get to do it my way. The fifth stage of change is maintenance. You're cruising along. You're doing your thing. It's amazing. It's amazing. You're discovering the things that you once enjoyed. You're replacing negative habits with healthier habits. You're shifting. You're taking your time. You're recognizing that time is a friend. You're practicing. You're getting so much more self awareness. You're dipping your toes into the beautiful, pristine places of self acceptance and love. It's amazing. And then, of course, we encounter every once in a while, not always, but often, the sixth stage of change, which is recurrence. We're going along. All of a sudden, there's some kind of temptation, there's some kind of craving, and we answer it. Some people, that leads them to tragic demise. That happens. Some people just dip a finger and they immediately come back to the path that they've been curating. Other people wander a while in recurrence and then they circle back to contemplation, readiness, action, maintenance. And so it is for the rest of our lives as we're shifting our habit energy, as we're getting to know ourselves in a way that's wise and broad, forgiving, lenient, honest, humble, true. It is a practice, friends. And we're not here to make it perfect. We're here to practice. So I'd like to just take a quick moment to extend my gratitude for the courtesy of your time to listen to this perspective and how this has all come alive in me. And I want you to hear without any doubt that if I can make this come alive for myself, you can too. There's absolutely nothing special about me. We're all encouraged to do this, to carve our own way, to really breathe to life the Buddha within all of us. This is your journey of recovery. This is your way of discovering signposts, markers of encouragement, places to pause to reflect, moments to sit with regret, even pathways that take you away and have you wander. All of that is going to be there for you, and it's going to manifest in all different kinds of ways. We're here to nurture wisdom and strength and vulnerability through our actions. And one of the most important actions we can take is to prioritize time. And in that time, we can begin to see the stories we've been telling ourselves, stories that encourage and get in the way. We can begin to see judgments that are positive and negative. All of them we can hold for a moment. And then poof, watch them float away. Breathing in, I am present to myself. Breathing out, bowing to my Buddha nature. Breathing in, I am present to myself. Breathing out, bowing to my Buddha nature. So we meet tomorrow, everybody, online only at 11:30 in the morning. And then Friday evening, tomorrow evening from 6 to 7:30, we're having a free community event online and in person. We've got a guest speaker she's a nurse who's going to be talking about where we're at with psilocybin in the medical community, what's happening, what are the pros and cons, what are some of the myths, what are some of the real efficacy things that we're learning. And so I think it's a wonderful information session. And you can just use this same link. You can check it out on our website as well. Lo has posted the link to Soul Center in the chat. It lists our Recovery Dharma schedule, our Satyaseva schedule, and all of the other events that we've got going on. Satyaseva is this Sunday at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific time. It's a 90-minute practice. Satyaseva, for anyone who doesn't know, is an environment where people in community and people who are in supportive roles can come together and practice mindfulness. And this is a way of leveling the playing field to suggest that by virtue of being human, we all have negative habit energy. Some people it manifests in the form of drugs and alcohol. Other people it manifests in different ways. And as we heard from a community member today, even when we have our worst negative habit energy under control, say we stop drinking, say we stop using drugs, we can still be so unskillful in our actions. And so everyone can benefit from practicing together, being together, connecting together, and the bridge is mindfulness. So and the last thing I'll say about our website is please check out the audio recordings. Lo does such an amazing job posting them. They're freely offered. We've got a ton of content out there. You can listen to them as a podcast. You can go to our YouTube page, and Michelle has created shorts from them. So some of the Dharma talks are really long. Some of them are just a minute. So you can just have this on in the background, framing your day in mindfulness. It's just a wonderful way to practice. Please subscribe. Please share far and wide. Make comments. I'll try to remember to respond to them. Email me. If you'd like to make a Dana offering, there's a way to do that on our Be Generous page and so forth. Oh, so friends, let's come back. And let's remember that time is an ally. And while we may feel a sense of urgency, we have this capacity to pause a little bit and get curious about what is this urgency? Where is it coming from? It's no accident that the Dharma, the teachings of the Buddha, are often referred to as Dharma doors. And there are thousands of them. And it's my practice to observe every single door I go through and every little landscape that I enter as with equanimity. So, for example, when I go through a door and I'm in an unskillful landscape and I catch myself treating myself in that landscape with more unskillfulness, it kind of makes sense. I'm in that environment. So, of course, I'm going to heap on more negativity, violence, aggression, hostility, but there's another door. And so in my awareness, I'm in an unskillful environment. I'm treating myself unskillfully. Look, I can go through that door. And then I enter into a landscape of kindness and forgiveness. And then I may be curious about a different door, and I enter into a door where the landscape is all about resentment. And from there, I go into another landscape, and so on, and so on, and so on, and so on. And when I treat this practice with that kind of imagery, it just keeps it fresh and artistic and poetic and curious. But most of all, and most importantly, it keeps it spacious and open so that I feel encouraged to keep going. I'd like to end our practice today with a dedication of merit. And this comes from the One Earth Sangha, and it's one of my favorite dedications. John often reads it, and I'd like to share it with you today. And I'm going to read it nice and slowly so you can take it in. May all places be held sacred. May all beings be cherished. May all injustices of oppression, devaluation, and theft be fully righted, remedied, and healed. May all who are captured by hatred be freed to the love that is our birthright. May all who are bound by fear discover the safety of understanding. May all who are weighed down by grief be given over to the joy of being. May all who are lost in delusion find a home on the path of wisdom. May all wounds to forests, rivers, deserts, oceans, all wounds to Mother Earth be lovingly restored to bountiful health. May all beings everywhere delight in whale song, bird song, and blue sky. May all beings abide in peace and well-being, awaken and be free. Have a beautiful day, friends. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for leaving such an extraordinary impression of beauty and wisdom in this space. I hope to see you next time. Namaste.